Hey there, folks. So, last episode we went through and we set up our inventory component on our player character where we can pick up items and they do actually get stored in our inventory. So, as you can see here, we just picked up the mushroom and we do have that one item in the inventory, and the current weight is 2.5 out of our, I believe the max I set to is 100. So, this episode, what we're going to do is make sure that the inventory is actually saved across game saves, not game instances. For this, I had actually launched from Visual Studio, so we're just going to close the editor, and I'm going to bring up Visual Studio here. So the first thing we need to do is here in our inventory component, we need to add in the save interface. So we're going to do the same thing we did with our stat line component. You can just see we need to add a public save actor interface. We also need to include that header reference. So I'm just going to grab that and throw that into the inventory component. Save everything there. And I grabbed an extra bracket I don't need, so I can get rid of that. Clean up these files. Now there's a couple of things we're going to want to add the save game tag to. We're going to want to add that to our inventory contents, obviously. So I'm going to go save game. Now, for the purpose of the save game, we're also going to want to add it to our current weight. And because I do plan in the future to offer ways to increase your carry capacity, like you pick up a bigger backpack, things like that, I want to add it to our max weight capacity. And the reason being for that is I want to make sure the current state is saved so that all that information is already there. Now, you can add things in like a function of recalculate weight, which is something I may actually do, depending. The other thing we're going to want to do, and this is just because it's what's I'm going to call a dynamic variable, is over in our item. Because we ended up adding in this current stack size, we need to add save game there as well. And from that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to add. Right now, I don't believe there's anything else we need to add. However, we're going to want to use some debugging within the game instance for our saving and loading. So we have our two player related ones, get player data. I'm going to throw a breakpoint on there, and set player data was the other one. And I'm going to throw a breakpoint in there. Now I'm just going to build the project and launch the editor. This shouldn't take too long for those minimal changes, but kind of surprised we have so many things. All right, that built. So we're going to launch the editor. And again, because I was just in the editor through Visual Studio, this shouldn't take too long to load up. Yeah, it's going pretty quick here. All right, there we go. So I just having a drink quick. So we'll play an editor. We're going to walk forward, pick up our mushroom. I'm going to walk over to just here by the door. I'm going to hit 7. That is my, I still have a breakpoint there from my other debugging. I'm going to hit continue. So we have our gathered player data. You can see we're getting a reference to our player character, which we have. We are getting their interface, which is there. Oh, actually, I'm going to fix that to do. We now are, ignore changes. Yes, I know. So we're getting our save actor data. So let's just take a look, see what's there. We have no component data yet. We haven't added that in. We do have our actor transform, rotation. Was spawned as false because it's the player character class. So we're now going to do our serialize. And we can see here in our byte data, it now has a bunch of information. Now we're going to do our components. And I'm just going to drop through to the save component data. It's not going to let me because that. So I'm just going to quickly step through these. And what is this actor component? That's the stat line. and this should be the inventory. So get the component data. We haven't implemented this function because right now there's no custom information we need to add in there. We may need to as part of the save work. It may just work as is. This is sort of something I never fully finished off in my last attempt. So, okay, we're going to serialize. I'm going to take a look at that component data. And to most people, this is going to mean pretty much nothing. And if you hit view, it doesn't actually show anything. I just want to take a quick look to see if I can identify anything. Stuff is way down in there. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's a little hard, but you have BP mushroom 01. So it is referencing the inventory content. Not seeing any additional information from that though. So we may consumable, that's its class. Okay, so we may need to do some work there. I'm going to tweak things so it actually that mushroom has a different item count. But anyways, we're going to step through, continue, add that in. We're done. We'll be done here. That should be all of our savable components. Yep, so we've got that. We're just going to hit continue. Take a quick look at our character here. And just see, so we have our inventory, we have our mushroom at index 0. I'm going to move over to the stairs. I should just run. Jump up here. I'm going to put 9 to load. Then I'll put a breakpoint on that. But you can see we're back here. Anyways, I'm going to go back over here. And we'll just head into Visual Studio. Set. Why was that not called? Load game. Yeah, it's right there. Oh, because that change I made there. Okay, so what we're going to do, we have saved the game as it's shown. I'll just quickly show again. We're going to hit F9 to load. It moves us back by the door. The mushroom is gone. Our trees are still there. I'm going to drop out of this, and I'm actually going to close out of the editor. So this shows something I do recommend, and I didn't think about this myself. Try not to make edits when you're debugging. Save those edits for when you're not like stepping through, and we're not really debugging, but we're stepping through the code. But yeah, try not to make edits like I did here of putting a to do so I could find it in the task list. Yeah. So we're going to rebuild. This should be almost instant because we haven't changed code. We just updated a comment. But this is also Visual Studio, so who knows? Dev load game. That calls in load game. Step through this. There we go. It's done. All right, so we're back in. We're going to hit play. And then 9. Okay, so there we go. That is why, is because I'd made that change. So I'm going to go, just continue. Get a reference to our player character. We've got that. Interface is good. Player data, .actor transform. Well, actually, let's just look at the player data. That stores everything we need. Component data, current weight, float property, inventory component. Yeah. So just step through. And then we found that. What is this actor component? It's a stat line. So I'm just going to do that. Hit continue. Okay, that is our inventory. Does this let us see any of the information here? Max weight 100, current weight there. Okay, that looks good. So I'm just going to hit continue. We're going to go over to our character. I'm going to take another look. Check our inventory. As you can see, we're in front of the door and we have a mushroom. So, as of right now, that looks like we've actually got the save portion of the inventory complete. So that actually happened a little quicker than I expected. So give me a moment, I'm going to pause the video and we're actually going to start on the UI aspect as well. Alright, I'm back folks. Apologies for that. I wasn't actually expecting the save system to work as smoothly the first go around. I thought there'd be some more work involved. I do suspect there's probably a couple other things that still need to have some work done to them, but we will get to those when they come up. So, as mentioned, we're going to start working on our UI aspect of things. Now, the first thing I want to do when the content browser wants to respond, we'll bring this over. So we need to add another data class. So we're going to go to our C++, the project, public, and again, you'll notice it's not in here. We don't have data types. And the reason being is that's not something that is directly exposed to blueprints. Directly exposed to the editor because it is just a data type. So what we're going to do here in the public folder, right click, new C++ class, none. Going to select our data type folder, and you can see it puts both the header and the source file in the correct place. And this one we are going to be calling f inventory because it's going to be a struct inventory UI data. We're going to create that class. Now, because we are running out of Visual Studio, this is going to take a moment to respond and prompt us with that reload. We want to wait until we get that reload prompt before we close out of things, though. And just in the interest of time, I am actually going to pause the video again until all of this is done. Alright, so that did take a couple minutes for it to go through. Turns out I had my Windows Defender live scan still running. I really need to figure out how to turn that off permanently. Anyways, so I've closed out of the editor and we have our reload prompt here. So we're just going to hit reload. Now, because we're creating a struct, not a class, we can just remove these two items here from our source file. And we're going to go into our header and do the same thing. Now, we are going to be following pretty much the exact same process we did with our other data types. As you can see, we've got our component, so on and so forth. And pretty much all of that is just pure header file work. So we're going to open up and just take a look at one of our other ones. Let's take our... Oh, I already created. That tells you how observant I am and how good my memory is. We actually already had the data type, so we don't need the FUI data. So inventory UI data. We have item UI data, which is exactly what we were looking for. So I'm just going to close out of those two files. Now, over in your Solution Explorer, right click on the individual file, remove. It is just going to remove the file from the solution. It doesn't actually remove the file directly. So we need to right click, open files, folder explorer. I'm going to pull that across. Now, I've mentioned this in other episodes, but it's been a while since we've had to do this. It opens in the intermediate project files. You want to go back to your project folder, source, project, and then you need to do it in both the public and the private files. So data type, inventory UI data, private, data type, inventory UI data. So that's that one there. Again, my apologies. It tells you how much I've been paying attention. However, we do need to actually expand this. We're going to add another one here, and we're actually going to put it at the top. It's an int, and it's going to be item index. And I'm going to default that value to -1, because again, that is a control index that's not a valid range. That tells you there's something wrong. So we do need to also expand our default constructor. Const int reference index, not semicolon, and spell const properly. And then just finally we can do this item idx equals idx. So just quickly to explain what this is for. This is going to grab the information from our inventory content, and it's going to give us the index in the array for the particular item, the item name, the item description, and an icon. Now you can go through, and actually I'm going to add that here as well, but this one we're going to put down the bottom. I didn't go down far enough. Int item count. No, stack size equals 0. And again, 0 is a control number for default initializer, because we know if it's 0, it shouldn't be there. So, and we'll do the same thing here. Const int reference count, stack size equals count. So now that we have this, I'm actually going to open up the source file just so I can grab the include. We want to go back to our inventory component. Going to throw that include at the top. You want to do that before your generated .h. This should always be the last include. And then down the bottom here, we want a U function that is blueprint callable in our public section, just to be clear. Yeah, okay. I was just trying to think how I wanted to do this, and I was taking some look at my previous attempt here. So we want T array. I'll open that up so I get the right name. It is F item UI data. Okay. T array of F item UI data. Get inventory UI data. And we want this to be a const. All right, and then we just want to create a definition for that. Now here, we're going to do a little bit of work. I'm going to pull that out, put this up the top. And as with all of our others, we're just going to create a T array for the FUI data, F item UI data, and we're going to return that array, but we need to populate it, or potentially populate it. So we're going to do for auto what do we call that? Inventory content? Yeah, inventory contents. Inventory, if I could spell. And what does that derive to? Auto does not deduce reference. A possible unintended copy is being made. Yeah. No, we want const auto because we're not changing that. Yeah, no. So then we're going to want to do f item UI data, item data, and we just want to go I. Get default object. Oh, what did we call these? Let's get. I'm pretty sure we added in all these helper functions. We didn't add all of them in. We're missing a few. So we do need helper functions for the rest of these as well. Oh, no, we've got that get UI data. So this is something else you may come across. I'll actually stop here for a moment. You try to be proactive when you're writing your code, and you know you're going to need to do something. So you do something in this case of we created a struct to return this one, and I completely forgot about it. And you're going to have this happen periodically. So current stack size, no, that's index. So we need to modify this slightly because our initial thoughts on this one were we're just going to return that. So how did we adjust this? So it's index and then count. Oh, apparently I collapsed that with a key combination. So on the end here we want current stack size, but we need to include the index. So what we're going to do here is actually as an input parameter, const int reference idx, and we're just going to pass that into the generation. So we're generating the UI data. Now we need to adjust our inventory component. So in here we're fine. It's actually in our source file. We don't need to use a for loop like this. Actually, no, we could. So what we're going to do here is int I equals 0. Actually, I'm going to call that idx so it's clear. So ret.add I.get default object get UI data idx plus plus. So what this is doing, obviously we're creating the array. We are doing a constant iterator for our inventory content. I may want to change this to just a standard for I equals, because I'm not a fan of that auto does not deduce references. A possible unintended copy is being made. Actually, yeah, just for my own sanity, because I'm not happy with that. For int idx equals 0, idx less than inventory contents dot num idx plus plus. No, lowercase idx. And we can get rid of that reference there. And this is going to be, delete both of those, inventory contents idx dot. Okay, so as I mentioned, this may not, before in previous episodes, this may not be the best way of doing it. I am following what is normal C++ programming approaches. I won't say patterns or anything like that, but this is how I would do it if it was a normal C++ under the circumstances of I'm wanting to account for references and such. I know they're not references to that degree, but either way. So now what we've done ultimately is we've provided a way for the inventory to provide some information that we can use in the UI. So we're just going to build the project quickly. And as soon as this is done, we'll be hopping in and we'll be doing some UI work to our HUD. Just while this builds, I'm going to pause and I will be right back. All right, so that build went through and we are in the editor now. What we're going to be doing is taking a quick look at our UI and making just some very basic, again, this is not to actually create our final UI. This is just for some very basic debugging. And that's why right now this is all being done through the third party instead of our actual project folder. So just open the dev basic HUD. And where did that open up? Oh, there we go. So first things first, we're actually going to go over to our graph. Components, action text values. So we don't have any way within the HUD to reference our inventory. So what we're going to do, create a variable, create a variable, and just call it our inventory. The R is to represent that it's a reference. And in here, you're going to inventory component object reference, moves it up here where our stat line is. So we're going to just compile that. Now we want to instance editable, expose and spawn, which is actually the exact same thing we did for our stat line. Compile and save that. I'm going to move this out of the way quickly because we do need to open up our third person blueprint quick. Okay, bring this over. Oh, come on. Respawn content browser. There we go. Okay, so in here you can see, where's our begin plate? We now have create basic HUD. We need to compile. Oh. That has changed. Let's go find, that is the one. And, oh, refresh node, where is it? Refresh node, there we go. I thought the compile caused it, so we can just pass that in here. Now we did add a function for get inventory. However, that is not needed here. That is going to be for things like our AI. I just wanted to clarify that. So now we've added that in. We're done in the third person blueprint. We're just going to compile and save. And for clarity, just in case anyone's wondering, next to your compile button, there's the ellipsis. I think that's the right word. In there, save on compile on success only, never or always. I have it on success only just in case there's something I've broken and it doesn't instantly save it. It can be frustrating, but I recommend using that over always. But anyway, so we can close out of third person blueprint, and we can close out of all of these little sub functions and just go to our event graph. Right click, custom event, toggle inventory. And this is going to take an input of a bool, which is just going to be show inventory. Now that we've got that, we want to add some basic visual elements to it. So we're going to go to designer. We're going to add a stack box to our canvas panel. Name that inventory area, sorry. Change our anchors to the center. We want the position to be, well, actually, first of all, we want our size our box to something realistic. So we're going to go 800 by 600. And then just do half of that value as a negative. So negative 400 by negative 300. That'll put it pretty much dead center. Now, this isn't perfect. This is exactly, as I mentioned earlier, this is to get it working. Now, actually, I'm going to half these sizes. That's a little wide for what I want. So we want this to be minus 200 and 400 wide, because we're just going to create a stack. But what we want to also add is get a scroll. We want to add that in here. Scroll box, we are wanting to name this inventory scroll area. We want to make that a variable. and there's a reason for that. We want it to be a fill, and then just compile and save. Now we do need to create our child widgets for each inventory item. So I'm just going to move this out of the way quickly. In our UI folder, in our third person, I'm just going to right click, user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, and this is just going to be dev widget inventory item. And we'll pull that back over. So again, we're going to go to our graph to start with. We're going to add a variable, and we're going to say item data, and that's going to be the item UI data. Instance editable and expose on spawn. Compile. Now we're just going to take a quick look to see what we have in there. So in this, we have, oh, it's right up here. We have our index, our name, our description, our icon, and our stack size. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to pull this over quickly, get that, and we're going to break, if I could spell that, break UI data. So we have a visual representation of that. So first of all, these three items here are the big ones to worry about: the name, the description, and the icon. So we're going to go over to our designer. We're going to start with a stack panel. We don't need to start with a canvas for this. Now we want our, or actually no, we do want to start with a canvas for this. Sorry. So right click, wrap with canvas panel. In the stack panel, we want to have the orientation to horizontal. Now we want to add another stack box inside there. We want this to be vertical. We also want to add an image. And this format is purely how I'm roughing these out. But anyway, so add that inside the original stack box, and you can see it's gone underneath. You want to actually put that in front, above. I've got these the wrong way around. We want the first one to be horizontal, and we want the second one to be vertical. On the image, name it icon, and it's obviously a variable. And then we want a text box, text block. Put that in the second one and drop a second one in there as well. The first one we drop in is item name. The second one is item count. Now on the item count, we want it to be right aligned. On the item name, we want it to be left aligned. On the parent stack box, we want it to be fill. On the icon, we want it to be fill. On the original stack box, we want to change our anchor to this one here. And we just want to set that to, well, roughly how big is this? Okay, I'm going to sit there, that line, so it's there, and we're 2 down, so it's there. Yeah, icon, auto. Well, we'll just leave it at that. So just quickly, for the item name, you want to set it as variable. Item count is variable. I'm just going to compile and save here. Now we're going to hop over on the graph. So on the construct and pre-construct, it's really down to actually no, this one you want it on construct, not pre-construct. So off the event construct, we're going to icon, set brush from texture. We are going to get the item icon from our structure, pass that in there. We do not want it to match size, and we're going to just pass that over. Then we're going to get our item count and our item name. Set text on the item name. We're going to pull off our item name pin. And we are going to just duplicate that. Set text. Why is duplicate not working there? Warning, open clipboard failed with error 5. Okay, well, let's copy and paste that then. Going to item count, add that in there. Now stack size. You can just drag that over and it's going to create a text to integer. Minimum digits, maximum digits. So if you want to have it so it's always, like say if you have 1, it's 0, 1. You want the minimum digits to be 2. We want our maximum digits to be 2 as well in this case. Just collapse that again, drag that over. Now one thing we want to do is make sure our data is valid. So we're just going to go valid off that. No, is valid. If I could type, apparently I hit something that caused a breakpoint. I'm not sure what it was. Valid. Is valid. No. All right. So anyways, we're just going to compile and save that for now. And running a little over here, but I will try and get some basic setup done here before we end the episode. So back into our HUD now. We're going to go to our graph. On toggle inventory, we're going to put a branch off the show. And the reason being is if we are hiding the inventory, we don't need to do any of this logic. If we're showing it, then we do. So if we're showing it, we're going to grab our inventory, get UI, inventory UI data. So as you can see, because we made it a constant function, it doesn't have an execute pin. We're not worried about that. This only happens, so it'll only have an execute pin. We only need that if we are wanting to do some other behavior with it. But we're going to grab that, drag off the return, and we're going to do a for loop. Actually, the very first thing we want to do is inventory scroll area, grab a reference to that, clear children. What this is doing is anything that may have already been in there, we're going to get rid of just to make sure that it we're not like double stacking the information. We're going to just connect that to the true, and then we're going to go to the for loop. We're going to create widget, and this is where we want this to be the dev, and then get owner, get owning local player. That's the one I want. Get owning player, sorry. We're going to grab this because we do need to add a reference to the owning player. We're going to take this return information, we're going to put that in there and connect the for loop. And then what we're also going to be doing is the scroll area, we're going to add children, or add child specifically. And we just add that in there, and we're done our for loop. Now, what we want to do is, did we not set that as a variable, the inventory? No, we didn't. So set your inventory area as variable, excuse me. Back in our graph, we're going to grab our inventory area, drag off set visibility. From the visible state, we want to drag off a pin from that and do a select. Our show inventory, we're going to just drag that over completely to the index. And for ease, we're going to drag our false condition to that, and then our completed for each loop to that. Because this functionality we can set for both. Now, if we're setting true, we want it to be visible. If it's false, we want it to be hidden. Compile that. We're going to save. And then we're going to hop back into our third person blueprint quickly. We are going to add a similar thing to this. We have 7 and 9 for our save. What I'm going to do is we are going to have key down, I think. Oh, keyboard event. That's it. Keyboard event. Where is I? Keyboard event I. are going to get our HUD reference and toggle. Now we do need a way to indicate the state, so we're just going to add a quick variable in here, b inventory shown. We're going to add a set. We're going to add a get. Off the get, type in not b for not Boolean. We're going to set the value, go to that, and go to our toggle inventory. Now, right this moment, it's still going to allow you to walk around and things like that. This functionality doesn't really work for, what's the term I'm wanting to use here? Proper inventory logic, like showing and closing. This is just so we can see the inventory and we can dismiss it as well. Because setting your game mode to UI only and things like that, with that, the controls within the player character don't respond. You need to add the logic to the UI. So we're just going to compile and save, and we're going to see if this actually works. Drag the content browser out of the way. I'm going to hit play, run over to our mushroom, pick it up, and then, actually before we start, I don't want to have any problems. I'm going to open up the HUD quickly, go into our graph, and I'm just going to throw a breakpoint on the toggle inventory on the branch. So move that out of the way, in here, and hit I, and our breakpoint was hit. So you can see pass through false, so that's going to go through here. Okay, that shouldn't have been false. It should be false to start with, so it should have been true. We're going to hit I again. We'll come back over. Is that now true? It is now false. Okay, what have I done wrong there? Open up our third-person character. Oh, that's my problem. I never passed through that. Okay, so fix that. Go back into the game. Run over, pick up our mushroom, hit I. Okay, pull this over. Okay, you can see we're passing through true the first time, so we're clearing the children. Num is 0. Huh? No debug data, add to child, set visibility, and we'll move. Move this out of the way. So obviously didn't fix the image properly, because you can see, but we have unknown mushroom, quantity 1, and we have a scroll bar. So the image isn't being set properly, and obviously we can't scroll, but you can see we have a scroll bar there on the side. So let's quickly see what the issue is with that. So go to our content browser, pull that up, pull that over. We'll go into our project file, well, folder, textures, icons. Okay, I do have the mushroom icon. Blueprints, items, consumables, BP mushroom. Pull this over. You can see I have an icon. So that tells me the image isn't being set properly, or the size isn't being set properly. So let's go back to our UI. We're going to open the inventory item, bring the content browser over, go to the icon, and where is the brush information? Here we go. Image size, I'm going to go 64, 64. Zoom in on this. And I will say straight up, UI is not my strong suit, so there's probably a lot of things here that, size to content, I know I missed that one. Justification, I changed the wrong justification values. So we'll go into the graph quickly. So we are, okay, let's try this again. So that is working. and move the content browser out of the way. I'm going to push play. Actually, play, please. Thank you. And actually, before that, on our inventory item, on event construct, I'm going to throw a breakpoint as well. So in here, pick up the mushroom. I'm going to hit I. So in here, we can see, again, it's coming through as true. Clear children. We're creating each of these. So here we go. No debug data. Okay, let's hope that works. Move this out of the way. So clearly I've got something going on in there that's not correct. It could be my UI settings, but from here you can see we at least have some fundamentals for the interface. We'll hit I again quickly and just bring that over. Excuse me. You can see we are setting it to false, which means we're going to drop through to the set visibility. Just continue, and we've lost the UI now. So we can toggle that. I'm actually going to get rid of that breakpoint because I don't want to keep hitting these. So you can toggle it off and on as we go. Oh, and got close enough to hit a tree. So let's do these. Yeah, so that is the very basics of the UI. And like I said, this is not intended to be the final form of the UI. It is just something so we can see we're passing information through. There's obviously a problem with the icon. I'm going to work on that to figure out what it is. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Unfortunately, the UI aspect of this episode wasn't planned, so a lot of it is me doing things off the cuff. But anyways, thank you for watching, folks. Next episode will probably be, well, no, not probably. Next episode will be continuing on with the UI aspect, and then we're also going to get our tree harvestables as a pickup actor as well. We haven't done that yet. We have only provided harvest actors with the ability to add to the inventory. We need to have things like the world pickups, which are just items that are spawned in the world. We need them to be able to be added to the inventory as well. And then that'll actually help with some additional UI stuff. But anyway, so next episode will be either, I'm trying to decide, well, I'm not sure which one it'll be. Depends on how well I can figure out what's going on with this UI stuff. But next episode will either be the working on the UI, or it will be fixing or setting up the harvest actors, the log pickup from a tree to go into your inventory. As always, those folks, any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to add them into the comments. I do respond to those as best I can. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.